And here we are back again with the great David Roche in studio. David, how are you feeling ahead of your Western States debut?
I am so excited and just such an honor to be here. I say it every single time I'm associated with you and Harmony and the team. It's like Freetrail is everything.
Dude.
And so thank you. This is, I mean, you know, I'm living in the house that Freetrail built. So thank you.
Well, you know, the feeling is obviously mutual. Freetrail and Swap hand in hand through the fires of hell.
Yeah. We've had some fun talks offline at different moments of our lives, and you've gotten me through a lot of tough times. And, you know, I mean, to be serious about it, like, that's why I'm at this start line, right? It's like, you know, the training will save the world idea that Freetrail has. It's like, yes, obviously it won't save the world in a broad sense, but like in a small sense, it can make your life so much better.
Yeah.
And the things that Freetrail represents in that has just been, like, that's what I'm channeling. And here right now, I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude to be here. Like, it feels like this never could have happened, would have happened. And like, I am just channeling that into trying to do something special on Saturday.
Well, what a great love fest. And I just also have to say, you know, I just so appreciate what you and Megan bring to the sport too. Your constant positivity, the love and support that you offer to the community, even in times when I know it's not been easy.
Yeah.
You guys have remained true to that in a way that's inspired us too at Freetrail. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy like nowadays because like when we first started, like in 2014, let's say, when things started taking off a little bit more, I feel like the vibes were a lot different than they are now. Yeah. And it's like, you know, you mostly feel like you're just stepping into a situation where, I don't know, the broader principles of like kindness, acceptance, inclusion, and all of that, like really are at the forefront. And like, I think it's within that framework that I also draw the most power. Like, it's not in competition or wanting to grit and grind or whatever. It's like, let's just go out there and express ourselves and see what everybody's capable of. And like, to me, like the races of people that are going to finish at golden hour are just as, if not more important than the races at the front. And, you know, the understanding that everybody's out there on the course is just like, I channel that when things are hard because I'm like, it's harder for other people. Yeah. So I have no excuses.
Yeah. I remember you and I talking on my show, whenever that was, last 6 months or 9 months. And you guys talk about it too, just about actually how carrying that love and appreciation actually does have physiological performance benefits to it also. So maybe it is a little self-serving too.
Absolutely. You better believe it. Dude, inject the love straight into my veins.
Yeah, there you go.
You saw to test me for love.
Come on.
That interview actually was before Leadville.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And I called it.
You called it when everybody else said no shot in hell. That like literally pigs will be flying, hell will be freezing over before you do that thing that you've established as a goal. And on that, I mean, you know, you understand the Leadville course and you're like, oh yeah, you're going to do this. And that was a huge dose of just grounding for me. Like, I mean, it's not confidence, just the understanding that I'm not delusional.
Yeah.
So thank you. And so, getting to talk to you before this one. Also, maybe that's a good omen. All
right, dude. So Leadville, you broke the freaking course record. You backed that up with a win at Havalina. You're here at the start line for your third 100-miler. What have you learned about the distance so far? And I think maybe more importantly, how do you maintain a level of humility after the hot start you've had at the distance?
Oh, I maintain humility by knowing that Jim would go 45 or 60 minutes under anything I've ever done. And that's if he's like sandbagging it. No, so, you know, the 100-mile distance, like I love it so much. Yeah. The wild part for me is I kind of expected the pain cave to hurt in like a very specific way, like kind of like a cut or something. And all the pain cave is just kind of accepting that, oh, this is like, I'll be okay to be done this, but you just kind of accept that place that you're in. Mm-hmm. And so the way I run 100-milers, and we were just talking to Dan Green a second ago, that when he saw me run at Havalina, it gave him confidence to understand you can run these differently, is, you know, I run it like a 50-miler that just goes 50 more miles. Mm-hmm. And if you fuel well and hydrate well, I think that that's probably the way to run them. And I love it because it doesn't hurt quite like the short stuff. And maybe I'll regret saying that, but, you know, I think it's just such a journey of the soul more than a journey of the body in a way. And yeah, I mean, to get to do that at Western States, just like mind blowing. Like it's something that I always dreamed of and never thought would happen.
Talk about the video series you guys have produced this spring. Shout out Cody Bear, who's here in studio with us.
Director Cody.
It's really given a lot of us fans a front row seat into how the sport is changing through the lens of David Roche, who, you know, you bring so much like knowledge and creativity, it feels like, into your training. And also this video project is an example of creativity. Talk about how that came to be and the value it's brought to you, your family, and the team.
Yeah. So this is like, you know, a Cody special. This is, all right, talk about the best story in this room right now. It's certainly not me. It's either Freetrail or Cody, because at Leadville last year, Cody was on the course. I had no idea. I'd never met him before. And immediately after the race, he just sent me a ton of the best photos you've ever seen, including like the iconic ones that have gotten millions of views of like me and Megan kissing and things like that. And just said, use these however you'd like. And I was like, this is the most talented guy I've ever seen. What's his deal? And so we just started talking. And then I was able to connect him with the feed, and he went down to Havalina. And then after Havalina, he's like, you know, well, we should do a video series. Do you want to do a video series? And so he took it all upon himself without any funding. So there was no payment, no nothing from the feed yet, and just did like a pilot, and has gone all in on it. So for me, I don't know, I view storytelling and being authentic with that as maybe one of the points of life, right? Like it's what brings people together when you're not like physical proximity with them. And the storyteller here is Cody, who just has, you know, stepped up and turns around these videos in like a few days. I have no idea how he does it, but so that's the ultimate shooting your shot thing. That, like, he goes to Leadville, shoots for free, and, you know, had been doing this for a couple of years, had moved out like sight unseen to Colorado to do this. And I'm just honored to be a part of that.
It's so cool. Shout out, Cody. And I think like a lesson for everybody who watches or listens to this. I mean, it's sort of an example of how we started at Freetrail too, of like just following an intuition, doing something that we love at first, like having really nothing to show for it in terms of like this being something that's worth it, but just like trusting that you're doing something that deserves to exist. And then eventually he gets his big break, and the video series has obviously been wildly popular and has probably brought thousands of new people into the sport. And probably there'll be a lot of new fans on the Western States broadcast on Saturday.
I don't know if they're prepared for how many people are going to be on the course. Yeah. If the sample size of people that have messaged me is at all indicative, like there are thousands of people that are flying in from like Europe to come to Western States this year. I think Forest Hill is going to be truly bonkers. But actually, a question to you: have you seen the parody videos of the video series?
I've heard about them. I haven't watched any of them.
They're by Tim Cannon, and they are so good that it like. I mean, the amount that they're good, like anyone who has watched the video series needs to go watch them right now, because I was just watching it, laughing so hard. It's like, that's also, I think, the next step of where like the trail running media and stuff can go, is like, all right, we have these stories being told. Now we can get like genre, we can get comedy. And I like the amount that it just hits it's like the best SNL type.
I'll check it out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. At first I felt like it was a troll job, and I'm not into that. Yeah. So anyway,
no. It's
as long as you're okay with it.
No, it's amazing. Tim, no, we've messaged a ton, and I'm trying to get him to like really invest in this, because he's so talented. And I think, you know, people who hate me or hate the idea of me see anything as a troll job, right? But like parody or satire is the ultimate form of love, I think. You know, unless you're like doing it from a totally different place.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, moving off of that and speaking more specifically about your build towards Western States, what we've witnessed in the video series, one of the things that to me stands out the most is this focus on building the top end speed. Like it just is to me, it feels like a fundamentally novel approach to the race, of you like really trying to be the fastest 1,600 meter runner in the field, rather than, you know, somebody with whatever, you know, a higher lactate threshold. You can speak about this much more intelligently than I can, but maybe just speak about that philosophy and why it's appropriate for the stage where trail running's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, speed is everything. And the thing for me is like, yes, last year was my first hundreds, but we've coached this stuff for so long. Like at Western States, not sure the exact stat, but I know it's at least 3 athletes in the top 10 every year since 2019, and a couple winners. And, so nothing has really changed. I'm just getting to show it now, like what we've always thought, which is trail running is all governed by your velocity at LT1, so your aerobic threshold, right? Like that's what I'm trying to show, like Havalina or something, is that when I'm racing, when someone like Dan says you can race this aggressively, what he means is you can just run this at the fastest aerobic pace you possibly can rather than slower than that, because if you fuel enough, you can sustain that for a really long time. And thus, though, that variable, velocity at LT1, is going to be determined by limiters on the top end unless someone is a VO2 max freak. So the exceptions are the athletes historically who have been the ultimate freaks of freaks in the best way, right?
Yeah.
But then training theory can get interpolated down from them, because if you have a 90 VO2 max, these variables don't matter that much because you have it. But if you don't, which is 99% of people that will ever try to excel at this stuff, you need to continually develop that top end power, because otherwise you're going to be, as that ceiling starts to diminish, you're going to be tamping down the aerobic paces. So the fun thing is, if you don't do that, you could be just turned 37 like me and faster than ever. And so, a course like this, like, yes, there's different elements of like technical proficiency and a lot of logistics and all of that. But at the end of the day, our bet is that it's a fitness test, and that's where we always want athletes to be their best selves.
Yeah. So you mentioned this, but you have attended Western States as a coach.
Yeah.
It's your first time experiencing Western States from the athlete's perspective. Obviously, there's a big difference there, but how have the couple of years that you've been here in the coaching capacity, like what has informed the way you are going to approach the race strategically?
I mean, it's through the looking glass moment, because I have written articles that are how to run the Western States course and, all this other stuff. And now I'm like, well, do I ignore all of my own advice and go hammer the escarpments? So yeah, I mean, I've seen athletes at every different end, right? Like there's been winners and podium, but then there's also been athletes who didn't have their day. And so you see all the ways it can go right and all the ways it can go wrong. And I think the conditions are looking fast this year, so that changes things, and it's looking hot, so that changes things. And, as you approach that, I think that it interacts with how trail running is changing in general, and that scared money isn't going to make money.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to race it the same way I told Hans to race it when we talked this morning, which is, you're not going out there to try to do a conservative top 10. You're going out there to see what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And, to do that, like, you have to put your cards on the table at this LT1 like barrier, not on the escarpment. It'll be harder than that, but then above that, in the high country. And yes, that might look fast on paper, but the nature of trail running is that it's not going to be fast within 5 years. Everything's changed. And so I'm just hoping I can be slightly ahead of that curve before everybody catches up. But the problem is, once you come to Western States, you got people like Rod Farvard, who changed the whole game. I was about to cusp it. I don't know how much editing we're doing.
No,
changed the game for everybody
yeah.
last year, who like showed, I mean, he's the one that really, I think, pushed everything forward, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody's starting to catch up to this. And I think what's cool about this year's race, and I wouldn't be surprised after the fact if we see this, is that not only have like, a few people been like, okay, high carb, hammer. Yeah. It's basically what ends up being the entire top 7 or 8. And yeah, we see just that, I don't know, the fundamental paradigm shift continues as it has at every other race.
And how fun has it been? All right. So you basically have called your shot though, and that you've said that you feel that the place where you can probably do the most damage or be at your strongest is in the high country.
Yeah.
Which means that.
So I think the high country is a place where this course has a lot of meat on the bone still. That being said, Megan ran 1.5 miles of the high country today and was like, oh yeah, that's great. It's great. And then Cody comes back and Megan is talking to Cody and he's like, this was terrible. No. So, I think, as long as I can avoid, my big thing is like, I have to avoid ankle injury out there.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a great ankle season for me.
Yeah.
But if I can, like, I think it's clear that the place from like essentially mile 10 to mile 40 is where there's just a lot
What
of
makes
stuff
you think that, out of curiosity?
I mean, you look at this, Katie Scheid was a minute behind the leaders at the escarpment last year. It's like, well, clearly there's, at the Broken Arrow, what is the ascent difference, right?
Yeah.
Between the best, and obviously Katie Scheid is like the best athlete, like amongst the top 3 who has ever lived at this. But, in the Broken Arrow ascent, Anna Gibson was a certain amount of time behind Christian Allen, and they're the 2 best. So I just think it's clear in the past that the men have generally started relatively conservatively and then picked it up as they go and then absolutely freaking hammering the canyons.
Yeah.
And, that it's probably only a few minutes, but a few minutes, you got to take it where you can get it, especially when you're me. Like, I mean, I think a lot of the athletes who have excelled here in the past have, a lot of different ways they can excel. It's like, I've got one path through it. I'm like bombing the Death Star and I've got one run I can take and one way it can happen. And I'm probably not Luke Skywalker. And I'm aware of that, but,
shooting a shot.
Exactly. Shoot the shot.
It's funny because Adam Peterman was in here, I think it was yesterday, and he reminded me that the year he won, he didn't take the lead until mile 75. And it jogged my memory, just like what a mature race he ran, especially given his talent level. Came in with that like debut humility, even though he's so talented. He didn't go off the front. He waited for Hayden to start fading, eventually passed him at 75. Made his way to the finish line in first, but it sort of is counter to the narrative of like, you need to be at the front in order to win at this level. Things probably have advanced since 2022, but I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you think about that or in general, like if you do have to position yourself at the front of the race very early in order to have a chance to win on Saturday.
If I make a movement at mile 75, it's a bowel movement. It's not a race movement. That was an important joke to make. No, that the sport has changed. And Adam has changed, right? Like I'm not doing the Freetrail fantasy, but Adam, the Peter God would be my pick to win. Yeah. Like that would be, if I had to bet, that's where I would put my money in a much faster time than 2022. Mm-hmm. I think we're never going to see the old come from behind narratives ever again. And the come from behind might be a little bit behind, but Havalina was a case in point. Like I didn't know Seacrest before that. Granted, it wasn't the video series, which I think has garnered a little bit more attention, but the podcast the week before Havalina, the week of Havalina, we were talking about it and I was similarly like unsure what was going to happen, right? And being like beating myself down about, and I said, well, I'm going to do this. And Megan's like, well, you're the alpha and everyone's going to go with you. And I was like, yeah, I assume that's what's going to happen. And what happened at Havalina is a few guys went with me, Dan Green, Jeff Mogavero, and then there was a huge pack of everyone who I thought was the contenders that I was asking for splits on 6 or 7 minutes back. Yeah. Historically, a very smart race. Yeah. But as soon as I heard that split, it's like, well, their race is done.
Wow. We just talked about this with Heather Jackson too, and I know you're a fan of cycling.
Yeah.
And the comment was, trail running is now like if you fall off the back of a pack or a pack gets away, it's really hard to bridge back up. And then if you're in no man's land, it's a real disadvantage.
Yeah. I think the hard part is in the old days, you're betting on bonks.
Yeah.
And I think it has nothing to do even with pack dynamics necessarily. I think it's just that maybe there's a little bit of like people get a little more lackadaisical and there's a little less urgency, but the broken record of, if you're fueling and hydrating properly, some people are going to bonk, but not everybody.
Yeah.
And certainly not even like, a lot of people I think are predicting like some fast times at the front and people to fall off. It's like, actually, I think that's just going to be deep and fast, even at hot temperatures. Yeah. Because like, that's going to be every race. Yeah. That's like, everyone's doing the same things now, in a great way, in a way that makes the sport more fun and interesting to do. But at the same time, like, I think I caught lightning in a bottle a little bit personally last year because I was just in the same way that, Rod catalyzed this for everybody in this, like, at Leadville, 4 of the top 5 went on to get golden tickets after it. I'm not sure if that's just a coincidence. It
Such a great observation.
But maybe there's like part of it was, after Leadville, I was like, hey, everybody, here is the entire playbook. I don't know what was what, but like the carbs are the big thing, Yeah. And I think, maybe it is just a coincidence, but if Leadville, which is traditionally considered a non-competitive race, then has all these athletes, now it's just like, we're all, everybody's, there's going to have to be a new frontier, right? Yeah. And I'm betting on heat being the new frontier this year.
Interesting. All right, before we let you go, I would be remiss not to ask you about, we're open about dealing with a little bit of an injury. Yeah. It's sort of the critical part of the training block. So Sure. To what extent it compromised your ability to train, and to what extent it's weighing on you mentally at this point?
Yeah, zero weight mentally. Yeah. I think it was the ultimate blessing. So it came after the Quad Rock 50 mile, which was a performance I was really happy and excited about, given how that's correlated with Western States performances in the past, and just how the nature of that course. And I think it happened at a time when I probably wouldn't have recovered. And so it allowed me to recover, and then I was able to get in incredible weeks of training. And maybe and to lay it all out there, no secrets, like I am a little bit concerned that maybe I didn't do quite enough of the quad pounding vert that I was planning. Yeah. So I got to run on the course, did the canyons, got trophies on the downhills, which for the people that think I can't run down. But then I was able to do some runs on Ranger Peak, but I wasn't able to get the like 4 or 5 big ones. And so, yeah, if the two ways I could see my race going really far south are either, and if I have an ankle injury in the high country, like a really bad one, then I'll just go cheer at the track with everybody else and cheer on Hans and Riley. But the other one is if the downhill of the canyons, I just lose the quads coming up Bath Road.
All right, so maybe last question for you then. I'd love to have you say a few more words about the little training camp that you did on the course, and to what degree were there new learnings that will impact the way you approach the race? Because was that like the first time you spent actual time on the course?
How wild is that, right? Like having coached it all this long. So basically a good mix of confidence and humility. So the confidence being like, if I feel like I felt at Quad Rock, at the 200 milers, when we get to the canyons, things are going to be really, really fun the rest of the way. But the humility being that the difference between this and anything else I'd ever experienced is like, this race has Killian, Adam, Seth, Vincent. Yeah. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of these athletes who, like, you know, are better than me. And I say that with the ultimate respect, the same way I said it about Matt Carpenter before Leadville. Yep. But, you know, I have a few tricks up my sleeve still. I'm like that relief pitcher that's like, I'm like Jamie Moyer for the pitcher that, you know, he had an 85 mile an hour fastball, but man, he could paint those corners.
Yes.
And, you know, but I do think then on top of that, the one maybe a little advantage I have outside of like just maybe a little bit of the coaching stuff is the just the fact that I do train faster. Yeah. So like, you know, if this became a track workout, like I know I would be well equipped to do well. And our whole thesis is that usually if you distill ultras down and you can nail the logistics, that will determine a lot of what happens. Yeah. And so, you know, essentially when you know people are better than you, what is your shot? And our answer is that, well, maybe you can find the little ways that you can stay ahead before everybody catches up. Yeah. And so I'm hopeful that I can stay one change up to the outside corner ahead. But if not, like I could see having a great day and finishing 8th or 9th here. Yeah. Like a great day. And so that I would also be thrilled with that. My whole goal, I was telling Harmony before this, is, you know, what happens if I come in 18th place, you know, which like at the back end of the men's like elite field and never get to come back. Yeah. How do I want to experience this whole thing? And so that's how I'm going to try to lead the way and enjoy those tens of thousands of people that are going to be on course and are going to overwhelm all the infrastructure and lead to a lot of people saying we need to change how this is run next year, because I can't wait for it. It's going to be such delightful chaos.
Well, David, thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for the education. Like, it's really fun to see how you and Megan specifically are influencing the sport.
Thank you.
In general. Congrats on your recent success. Congrats to Cody on the video series. And I can't wait
for the people watching. Cody's back there with a camera.
Yes, he is.
I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. But hey, dude, if I do pull it off, he's going to make a cool documentary with that.
A sick video.
Also, I was like, how should I should come out in a character. So our two things that we thought I might do for the Freetrail interview, since the only one I'm doing, is one, mustache, right? Just like, I can't win, but maybe I can do the mustache. Yeah. But two would have been coming out in a heat suit, because, you know, I think that if it is a good day, I think that will also be the other thing that we're seeing, that cycling, it has become the thing. Yeah. And obviously some people are doing it here, not all. And I think that there's still wrinkles at the edge of physiology that are very fun to explore. But like all experiments, you don't actually know what's going to happen.
Well, it's cool that you put yourself in the test tube, so to speak, and let us all watch.
Yeah.
David Roche, good luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much. Love you guys.